Myself, I'm Zarina Khan. I'm an IB PYP educator from Wockhardt Global School, Aurangabad. I welcome you all for the webinar on importance of ongoing assessment in the learning process. First of all, I would like to thank my school principal who has given me the opportunity and uh, motivated me to conduct and host the webinar. I would also like to thank all the participants who have joined, uh, taken out their time from the busy schedule and they have joined the webinar. Uh, Thank you, everyone. So let's begin with the webinar. The topic that I've chosen for the webinar is importance of ongoing assessment in the learning process. Being a teacher, we should be aware about the importance of assessment in the learning process. Yes. So assessment is an ongoing awareness of students' learning and their needs rather than an occasional event in the program. Minute by minute observation of students along with an understanding of how children learn allow teachers to make valid decisions and judgments. So assessment is a very important uh, part in the learning process. Now, how can we assess accurately and fairly what students have learned? This is a question that every teacher struggles with. But when understanding is the purpose of instruction, the process of assessment is more than just an evaluation. It is a substantive contribution to learning. Assessment becomes a very important part of learning, part of a learning process. Assessment that fosters understanding rather than simply evaluating it has to be more than an end of the unit test. It needs to be uniform and it needs to inform students and teachers about both what students currently understand and how to proceed with subsequent teaching and learning. Ongoing assessment plays a very important role in the learning process. So we should have a clear idea that what exactly is the ongoing assessment. So ongoing assessment is a process used to measure and document how children grow, develop, and learn. Ongoing assessment of student learning provides continuous feedback on the effectiveness of instruction and indicates areas where a change in instructional strategy may be advised. Such assessments may range from planned assessments such as quizzes, end of chapter test, and report or essay writing to informal classroom observations of student language and literacy behaviors. Now, there are two important key features of ongoing assessment. One is establishing the criteria and the other is providing feedback. So we will see both of the thing in detail. First is the criteria. So establishing criteria is very much important. Criteria for each performance of understanding need to be clear. That is, it need to be articulated explicitly at the beginning of each performance of understanding. The criteria should be relevant. That is closely related to understanding goals of the unit. And also the criteria should be public. That is, everyone in the classroom knows and understands them. Next, a key feature of the ongoing assessment is providing feedback. Feedback occurs frequently from the beginning of the unit to its conclusion in conjunction with performances of understanding. Some occasions for feedback may be formal and planned, such as those related to presentations, while some may be more casual and informal, such as responding to a student's comment in a class discussion. Provide students with information not only about how well they have carried out performances, but also how they might improve them. Inform your planning of subsequent classes and activities. Come for a variety of perspective from students' reflection on their own work, from classmates reflecting on one another's work, and from the teacher. Now, how to plan an ongoing assessment, which is very important. Planning is very important in the ongoing assessment. It is usually easiest to think about specific ongoing assessment procedures in the context of performances of understanding or activities you have planned. Use your understanding goals to generate the criteria by which to assess students' performances. Build in opportunities at the beginning of and throughout the unit for assessing students' developing understanding. If assessment happens only at the end of a unit, it is not ongoing. It cannot help the students to develop and refine their understanding in the progress of their work. Create opportunities within performances of understanding for students to give feedback to one another and or get feedback from you as they work. Across performances, try to balance formal and informal feedback. Try to allow opportunities for a variety of perspective on assessments over the course of the unit. Self-assessment, peer assessment, and your assessment of student work. Build in time to help students develop the skills they will need to provide one another and themselves with useful feedback. Now, teaching with ongoing assessment. How a teacher can teach along with an ongoing assessment. Even if you have a sense for what the criteria for a particular performance should be, try inviting students to develop the criteria themselves by looking at the models or mock-ups of similar performances. Post criteria prominently in the class that will help students to see how the criteria relate to the understanding goals. Model for students how to provide feedback that both tells them how well they are doing and gives them information about how they might do better. Portfolios and reflecting journals can be useful tools for students to track their learning over time. Use assessment opportunities not only to gauge how well the students are doing, but also to examine and reshape your curriculum. Techniques. What are the techniques to make ongoing assessment manageable? I know that ongoing assessment can be time consuming. So here are some of the techniques by using which you can manage ongoing assessment easily in your classrooms. Not every performance needs to be assessed formally. Feedback can be given verbally and informally as students work in small groups or as we lead a class discussion. Keep criteria list boiled down to just those few items that you really care about. Those items stated in the understanding goals. Not only does this make the grading and feedback process easier for us, but also ensures the students will be spending the time and energy well. Take time to teach your students how to talk with one another about assessments. If everyone understands the criteria for a performance and has had practice with providing supportive critics, the student can coach and provide feedback for one another, even if you are the one who ultimately gives the grade. Now, as I'm stressing on the ongoing assessment in the learning process, I'm doing it so because I know there are many benefits and lot of benefits of ongoing assessment. So let's see those benefits one by one. First is define learning goals. Monitoring students' progress regularly helps keeping learning goals top of mind so students have a clear target to work towards. And teachers can help clear up misunderstandings before students get off track. Second is increased rigor. Practicing ongoing assessment helps teacher collect information that indicates students' needs. Once teachers have an understanding of what students need to be successful, they can create a rigorous learning environment that will challenge every student to grow. The third benefit of the ongoing assessment is improved academic achievement. Providing students and teachers with regular feedback on progress towards their goals is the main function of ongoing assessment that will aid in increasing academic achievement. It helps students close the gap between their current knowledge and their learning goals. The fourth benefit of the ongoing assessment is enhanced student motivation. As ongoing assessment involves giving frequent and regular feedbacks, it motivates students to do better. The fifth benefit of ongoing assessment is increased student learning engagements. Students need to find meaning in the work they are asked to do in the classroom. Connecting the learning objectives with the real world problems and situations draws students into the instructional activities and feeds their natural curiosity about the world. Another benefit of the ongoing assessment is focused and the targeted feedback. Descriptive feedback should highlight gaps in understanding and specifically inform students on how they can improve their learning rather than listening what they got wrong, thus facilitating a reciprocal learning process between teachers and students. The next benefit of the ongoing assessment is personalized learning experiences. It's the close analysis of an ongoing assessment data that allows the teacher to examine his or her instructional practices and determine which are producing the desired results and which are not. Some that work for one group of the students may not work for the another group. The next benefit of the ongoing assessment is self-regulated learners. Teaching students the requisite skills to monitor and take responsibility for meeting their goals create self-regulated learners. Giving students examples of high-quality work along with multiple opportunities to review and correct their own work to build independent and autonomous thinkers. The next benefit of the ongoing assessment is data-driven decisions. Using the data gathered from the frequent learning checks empowers teachers to make connections, to make informative. Teacher can use this feedbacks and the data they have gathered, they can use it for their future planning and how they can plan out their next learning task. So here is a video that I'm going to share with you all, wherein an educator is doing an informal ongoing assessment of a child to understand whether the concept related to life cycle of a butterfly is clear to the student or not, so that she can plan out next learning engagement and how she can facilitate the student further in his learning process. So I will be playing a video.
What else do we need before we start? A name.
There is some connectivity issue. That's why it is taking some time to.
Thank you, Mr. Caleb. So my name's Debbie, and I'm employed here at Salandra Kindergarten. This is a newly built centre that's just opened here in Cranbourne North. We all collaborate together, so as much as we are individual rooms and individual teams, as you can see, it's a very open environment. The children do flow in and out of each other's rooms, and they do share the outdoor space together. So if the children are working in my room, for example, and they're picking up on the interest of my immediate group, well then I would share that with the other girls and let them know that they were exhibiting an interest in the bunk trade, for example, and so they might be then able to extend that interest into their room, or it might be something that we would facilitate for the children in our room. Do you remember when we talked about the butterfly? We talked about how the colours are on one side and then on the opposite side they're the same?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing with our painting?
Yep.
Making the butterfly wings?
Yes. I'm going to do some blue and green.
Blue and green?
Red.
The smudged butterfly painting's been out for the week, so we've talked them through the process of how initially when that was set up, what concepts we were hoping to gain from that, the mirror image of the butterfly wings, so that was the talking of the folding the paper. So by this stage of the week, those skills and concepts should be established, and so they're experimenting now. They're sort of trial and error, and as you heard, they were trying to mix the colours, and so that just initially led into the discussion about the life cycle of the butterfly. What's this called though?
Chrysalis.
And what's that?
Chrysalis.
What's a chrysalis? So what I was trying to gauge from Caleb in that moment was his comprehension of the actual life cycle and the way it flows. So with things like that, I would use that as a form of review for myself, that yes, obviously that learning that I'd done with them had sunk in. So what do I need to do now to take them to the next level, or what would be the next step that I need to facilitate or support or scaffold or provide for the children. Tanea, is this the water?
Yes.
Wow, I love that picture. Thank you for telling me about it. Every child has a portfolio, and so their individual learning goes into their portfolio. That's a tool for the families to see the learning. We call it their learning journey. So the families can see that, and that's accessible all the time. The children will go and gain that throughout the session and look and see what's been added. They also have ownership of it, so they choose what they would like to add to it. So if Caleb had done his painting today, for example, and he desperately wants that to go in his folder, so he's got that as a memory, we would support that and put that in his folder so that he's got that there to refer back to. Jen will probably give me feedback on discussions she's had with other children as well, and we'll get a bit of a feel as to whether or not the group is also ready for that next step. And that data collection can be in many formats. It might be through observation where we quickly jot down notes, or we might purposely just jot some dot points down that would trigger a memory of what the situation was. We might just take immediate photos, or we might have the children involved in a particular art piece, and so we'll rely on that to be a form of documentation of what the children were involved with, or we might write the child's voice. And we do use our debriefing sessions and our team meetings to talk about specific children and their needs. So it might be children that might have additional needs, or it might just be behavioural, or it might be just that strong interests are coming from those particular children. So if we're aware as a whole team what is happening with those children, we can then use our observations of what's happening with that child to give feedback to their immediate educators so that they can use that as an assessment tool. So then we're all supporting that whole nurturing and cycle process. Thank you, Caleb. That was a wonderful story. You're a good teacher. I like your story times.
Yes, so here in this video, it is being showed that how...
Be honest, do you really want to watch a video that looks like this? There's a good reason.
I need to go back.
What else do we need before we start?
A name.
A name. Thank you, Mr. Caleb. So my name's Debbie and I'm employed here at Salandra Kindergarten. This is a newly built centre that's just opened here in Cranbourne North. We all collaborate together.
So in this video, the teacher is trying to assess the student informally, and she's trying to understand whether the concept related to the life cycle of the butterfly is clear to the student or not, so that she can plan out her future lesson accordingly, and she can facilitate the student further in his learning process. So I hope that you all got the clear idea that how an ongoing assessment is important in the learning process. Any of the participants who would like to share whether they are also following any of the ongoing assessments during their learning processes? Are they following any of the ongoing assessments? Yes, I think so. There is only one participant who, so yes, if you would like to share any of the ongoing assessment, any informal assessment that you do in your class. Okay, so I would like to share my class experience with you, where almost daily, I will be doing an informal ongoing assessment. Whenever I'm taking any concept in the class, for example, recently I was doing with the literature unit, in which I was teaching them types of poems. So in that, I have taught them different types of poems, and then I wanted to take an assessment that how much students have learned about the different types of poems, and whether they have understood each type of poem, whether they know the elements of each type of poem. So I asked them to create an anchor chart. Uh, I uh, gave them a choice whether they had to choose from the two things. Either they can make an anchor chart, or they can do a PowerPoint presentation of their understanding about the types of poems. And then I gave them a time of one day, and the next day I made them to present their understanding about types of poem in the class. So each and every student presented their understanding. Some presented either in the form of an anchor chart, and some presented in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. So then I recorded whatever I had observed. So I've recorded everything with me. I've noted down the points, with the positive points as well as the negative points. And after their presentations, I have given them feedback. Feedback is also very important in the uh, ongoing assessment, and in the learning process. So I gave them feedback on what positive things I saw in their presentation, and what were the negative things that I saw in their presentations. And after that, I got a clear idea that where exactly students are. And then accordingly, I planned out for my next lesson that how I should go further, what I should do to uh, so that children get a clear idea. There were few students who could not explain or could not display their understanding properly because there were some gaps in their learning process. So I use some strategies so that they can get a clear idea and their concepts related to the types of poem is cleared. So in this way, I apply the ongoing assessment in my classroom. If any of the participants would like to share their experience related to ongoing process, they can share it. Okay, so I think so time is also up for the session. So I would like to thank the participants for taking out time and joining for the webinar. Thank you.